Welcome to Tawana Talks, where I give my reflections on simple life experiences that lend themselves to
Hello,
life
hello,
lessons.
hello, and welcome to Tawana Talk. So are you afraid of anything? And I mean, seriously, like you don't gotta answer and tell nobody, but just be serious. Like, be real with yourself. What are you afraid of? Think about it. And while you're thinking about that thing, kind of maybe take some time and think about why you're afraid of that thing. How does that make you feel in those fearful moments of the thing that you're afraid of? Even thinking about it could put you in a state of mind of, mm-mm. I don't even want to think about it. I have some fears like that, like rats. I don't even think the word is afraid of rats. Like, I don't like them. I am afraid of them. Um, like, nah. Mm-mm. And so just the mere thought of a rat. Um, so my children know it. They know that, that whole flight, fight, freeze mechanism, and the fear, if there's a rat, I flight, I forget. So you got fight, flight, freeze, forget. Um, and maybe the freeze is forget because certain things freeze up. And the forgetting for me is the fact that I'm a mom or I'm supposed to be a protector of my children, and those like the mama bear instincts. Mm-mm. Those go right out the window if there happens to be a rat. It's like I think I taught y'all enough on how to save yourself, so save yourself. Like it's a rat, so that should click in your mind. Save myself because I am out of there. Like I forget that I'm like, oh shoot, I got them kids. um, so a funny story. The when I was a principal, my daughter was in my office, and you have buildings that are older, and apparently there was a mouse in my office. Well, she's younger, so she doesn't know the difference between a mouse and a rat. But let me preface this by saying too, I said rats I'm afraid of. Let me make that actually a little bit more abundantly clearer. Rodents. So that's mice, rat, that's all the same thing to me. No, like you all the same family. There's no difference in the two. Like, oh no, like I'm afraid of both of them, all of them, every last one of them, whatever species or category you put it in. I don't want it. So we were in my office, and it was like an evening. There was a sporting event going on at the school, and so I was there. But I was doing some work in my office, and she was in my office, and she was on the floor, and she was coloring. And the back, I had a sectional desk, and so the back was the kind of desk where you had a space where you can turn around and do some work, and you had the push boards, and then you had cabinetry going up, and so it went all the way up to the ceiling, and then it sectioned on the side where you had more space to write or set things up, and then of course the desk area in the front. So it was shaped like a U, where the front of the desk was in front of me, the side was to my right, and then you had the back part, which was to the back of me. And she was on the floor in front of my desk, and she was coloring, and I was, in my computer or writing or doing something facing um, forward. And she looked up and she said, "Oh, mommy, a rat." I don't even remember like the amount of time. All I know is when I heard, I don't even know if I heard the entire word, but I was out the office. Like I stepped over her and was out of the office. I totally forgot that, that's your child. You got to get her. Like, protect her. I was like, oh, and I just left. And I was like, you better come on. Like, froze. Because in my mind, what I thought was going to be back there was Master Splinter from Ninja Turtles. Like, that's who was going to be standing on the top behind my desk, ready to pounce down on me. And so I was like, I'm gone. Like, save yourself. Like, come on. Um, and then further down the story, someone came to my office and was like, it was a little mouse in the ceiling. And I was like, oh, well, you know, that too. Like, she could have said little mouse. She could have said uh, tiny mouse. She could have said tiny rat. She could have said miniature, whatever. It wasn't the size um, that I'm afraid of. Is I'm afraid of the thing. And I was gone. And then from there, I was like, can somebody come and get my things out of my office? Because I'm about to go. I'm not gonna be here. So fast forward years later, that fear is still instilled in me. That fear is still there. And you know, some people are like, overcome your fears. Like that one, I don't think I really wanna overcome. Like I don't want to be somewhere and there's rats and I'm be comfortable. Like I don't want to be comfortable around rats. I'm like, I think that I'm going to keep this, gotta go. I may need to overcome it in a way where I'm like less flight so that I can be able to tend to what I got to tend to. But in some instances, that is still a great mechanism because you may not have the time to um, to think about it before your life could be in danger. It's just like, how do you navigate it when you have others' lives who you're responsible for and not having their lives in danger? And maybe the answer is you prepare them for how to protect themselves in those types of situations so that you don't have to um, risk the both of you in a situation like that. It's kind of like when you think about on a plane and the flight attendants tell you, you know, secure your mask first before helping anyone else. And so it's kind of like they're teaching you how to prepare yourself so that they don't have to be worried about um, everybody else or you in the event of an emergency, that you are well prepared and well equipped for taking care of yourself. And so maybe that's the answer for that. That's not really the point of this, but that point, I guess, needed to be said because it came about there. But so this fear of rats, mice, rodents is there, which means that it is, and I don't know where that came from. Like, I don't know, like I I might have been born with that. I don't know. Because I grew up um I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and we didn't have, at least if there were rats or mice, like I was well protected from it because I was afraid. So I never saw one. Like I might have been driving down the street and one has crossed across the road or whatever, but I've never physically saw one where I'm like out and about and there it is. Even when I'm driving, I'm like ready to freeze the car. Like, oh my God, I don't have a backbone and get in my car. Like, they're like, why are you driving? I'm like, I don't know. Um, I have seen one passing because I've heard that they're so quick, and I don't know if that's a rat or a mouse, but whatever it is, no, like really, really quickly. It's like, oh crap, what was that? Like, um, but we didn't have like a infestation or a problem whereby that I was affected to the way where I can be so afraid. Like I've like been driving down places and saw one like run across a field or across the street, but never one where I'm walking like, oh, like nothing like that. So I don't really know where that fear came from. Nonetheless, it's there. So the other day I was heading into Walgreens and I had some trash in my hand that I was going to toss into the trash can before going into the store. And as I got to the trash can, something was poking out. My brain said rat, my body flight. I was like, oh, never mind. I don't need to throw anything away and I don't need anything out the store. So I was going back to my car like, oh, well, whatever was needed. It's not really a need today. And so then that reality set in, fear was there. So fear took over. And then reality set in and it was like, it's not a mouse or it's not a rat or whatever. It's a bag. It's a plastic bag, a gray plastic bag sticking out the trash can. But immediately interpreted it as a rat and was ready to turn around. I don't know why my brain reinterpreted that. And you know what? I do know. Your eyes are, the portals to the for being able to interpret and internalize things in most cases. And so my eyes saw what it saw, but my brain quickly interpreted fear. But then it caught up and was like, it's not a mouse, it's a bag. You're fine. And so I was like, oh. So I turned back around, threw my thing away, went into the store and got what I got. And so, but I almost missed out on not getting what I needed because of fear. And so the purpose of this then is then thinking about, have your fears stopped you or prohibited you from moving forward to the things that are important in life? Has that happened? Um, and what are some things that you are afraid of, and how can you tackle those things and surface those things a little bit so that you can identify the origin of where that fear came from and possibly address it. Like I mentioned, I probably will not overcome the fear of rats because I don't want to be in situations where there's rat infestation. It's like, yeah, I'm calm with that. I don't want to be calm with rodents and rats being around. But what I do want to be is not in a space where I'm automatically ready to walk away and cancel what needs to happen because there's a fear. Um, so that's really the point of, maybe you don't overcome the fear in per se, because people are like, don't you want to overcome it? Don't you have a bucket list? And maybe you don't overcome the fear, but you can be an overcomer of the barrier that it causes because of the fear. And so if a fear is stopping you from doing something, or a fear is prohibiting you from getting what you need, then that is just cause to address that fear so that you can be able to get through to get what you need. What are some steps you can take to do that? How can you identify that? Number one step is identifying the fear, like coming to terms, like, what are you truly afraid of? The next step would be to identify the origin of that. Where'd that come from? Because sometimes you could look and see where the space where that came from, and that leads to other open doors of being able to understand. And sometimes that other door that's open is like, this is an irrational fear, or this is an unrealistic fear. This is something that's self-inflicted. It's not even a true thing. Like, I'm afraid of rats because they're gross and they are vermin and they have diseases and those different types of things. So therefore, I don't want to taking the trash out. I don't want to that noise, I apologize, is the trash day. But I don't want to succumb myself to diseases, being sick. And they're just gross looking. But what can I do to make sure that that fear doesn't stop me or derail me in a way where it prolongs some success? And so I challenge you then to, again, come to terms, be honest with what your fears are, investigate the origin of that fear, and then take necessary steps to break those things down in bite-sized pieces on how you can not necessarily overcome the fear, but overcome the action that stops you or prohibits you from your success. And that could come by way of counseling or coaching. Don't get into a thought that you could do it on your own, because you only know what you know. And if you know that you're fearful, then you only see the box that has created. And so therefore I'll say always, that's a stamping term, but it is great to be able to speak with someone else, to be able to de-rationalize and then make some new rationalizations of what rationalizations. That's not even a word. Come up with some new rationale of behavior to get through what it is that you're trying to get through. Um, because you can then have other points of view and other vantage points that could see things from different perspectives, because everyone has different experiences. And so those different experiences can provide new ways of perspective because you've not experienced what they've experienced. And so I challenge you to check, what are you afraid of?